Thank you. Chairman Biggs, Ranking Member Raskin, Ranking Member Macbeth, and esteemed members of the Subcommittee on Crime and Federal Government Surveillance. My name is Kathy Cahill, and I am the director of AQUASI, the Alaska Center for Unmanned Aircraft Systems Integration. AQUASI leads one of the 7 FAA test sites, when we are a key player in many other FAA, DOJ, and DoD programs. We also partner with a variety of commercial and governmental entities on cutting-edge UAS and counter-UAS technologies required to safely integrate UAS into the national airspace system. These facts uniquely position me to discuss the topic of malicious UAS. This written testimony is provided to you through my personal capacity as a private citizen and is based on my professional experience. It does not necessarily represent the views of the University of Alaska. AQUASI uses UAS for good, such as conducting medical supply delivery, cargo delivery to isolated communities, and emergency response. However, our team is very aware of how they can be used maliciously. I live in Alaska, but even in this remote location, our team has seen the malicious use of UAS. We have seen flights of unauthorized UAS in the flight path of Ted Stevens International Airport, one of the top 5 cargo airports in the world. Simultaneously, we have seen multiple UAS entering the restricted airspace of our military bases. We have observed the flight tracks of UAS dropping contraband into correctional facilities. I personally have seen UAS crossing the southern border, bringing drugs from Mexico. All of these examples show that malicious UAS activities are widespread, and we need policies, procedures, training, and technologies to allow law enforcement to stop these activities without creating a hazard to people and property. The first question I always get asked when I talk to the public about the issue of malicious UAS is, why can't we shoot them? The United States Code, Section 49, defines UAS as aircraft, and all of the laws codified for traditional manned aircraft apply to them. Therefore, shooting a UAS is a federal offense with applicable jail time and fines. Only 5 agencies, DoD, DOE, DHS, DOJ, and to a limited extent FAA, have relief from the United States Code sections applicable to shooting down or hacking or jamming UAS. So most law enforcement operators dealing with unauthorized UAS do not have the legal authority to do so. Also, it's unsafe to mitigate a UAS without knowing what is under it and what might get hit when the UAS falls. Additionally, the operator of a counter-UAS system needs to know if the UAS under observation is authorized to be flying in that location. These facts point to why we need highly trained professionals with appropriate statutory relief and good information making the risk-benefit calculations about whether and how a UAS should be mitigated. As the malicious use of UAS spreads, state and local law enforcement officers will be on the front lines for combating the threat from the rogue UAS, because federal agents with counter-drone capacities cannot be everywhere. The AQUASI team has been studying the willingness of local law enforcement officers to engage with systems designed to detect, track, and identify malicious UAS. In Alaska, we have had trouble getting state and local law enforcement officers to address rogue UAS because they're overworked, understaffed, dealing with more urgent situations, and feel it is not their responsibility to do so. Additionally, many of the law enforcement participants in our study are unsure as to what laws are applicable to malicious UAS and do not know what they can legally do to build a case for the misuse of UAS. We need to provide our law enforcement officers with clear guidance on how to address rogue UAS, and that as the risk from malicious UAS increases, the potential to mitigate the UAS in certain circumstances. We cannot afford to allow criminals to use UAS maliciously or our adversaries to use UAS to endanger our military bases or personnel and conduct espionage. In my opinion, HR 5061, the Counter-UAS Authority Security, Safety, and Reauthorization Act, is a good first step towards safely implementing counter-drone technology in the US. However, more needs to be done to accelerate our testing and implementation of these technologies and the required risk-benefit decision calculations needed before a UAS is mitigated. These investments will not only help our law enforcement organizations here at home, but also our military overseas as they deal with the malicious UAS threat. The US should be a world leader in the development and deployment of these technologies. If we do not move fast enough, the criminals and our adversaries will win the UAS war. This ends my prepared statement. I'd be happy to answer any questions you